The moment I see the text on her phone, everything goes dark. My heart pounds like a war drum, and my vision narrows, zeroing in on the message that seems to scream betrayal. "Can't wait to see you tonight," it reads. My wife's phone sits on our kitchen counter, innocently glowing in the evening light, mocking me. I look up and see Jennifer, my wife of 6 years, standing across the room, humming softly as she checks the oven. She's baking lasagna, her specialty, and she looks perfect, but nothing feels right anymore. I suck in a breath and try to keep my hands from shaking. My mind spins, and I start putting the pieces together. The late nights at work, the sudden need to hit the gym 3 times a week, the way she's been distant even when she's sitting right beside me. How could I have missed it? "Hey, babe, everything all right?" she asks, turning around and flashing me a smile that would have melted me just days ago. Now, it feels like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. I force a smile, hoping it doesn't look like a grimace. "Yeah," I lie, pocketing my phone, "just checking a work email." Her eyes narrow for the briefest moment, but she shrugs it off. "Dinner will be ready in 15, she says, turning back to the stove. I take a step back, needing air, needing to think, but the walls feel like they're closing in. I mutter something about taking a walk and head outside, the cool evening breeze doing nothing to calm the fire raging inside me. My mind races. Who is he? What does he have that I don't? And why? Why would she risk everything we built together for some fling? My fists clench, and I can feel the anger boiling over, threatening to explode. But I've always been the type to think before I act, and even though my heart wants me to storm back in there and demand answers, my brain tells me to slow down, to get the full story before making a move. I won't be a fool, and I won't let this destroy me. If she's been sneaking around behind my back, she won't get away with it. I'll make sure of that. I need a plan. I walk down the street, barely noticing the neighbors' houses or the wind rustling through the trees. My head feels like it's on fire, each thought tangled with anger, betrayal, and disbelief. How did we get here? Just last month, Jennifer and I celebrated our anniversary. A weekend getaway in the mountains, filled with laughter and memories I thought would last a lifetime. Now, everything seems tainted, every smile and every touch feeling like part of a lie. Reaching the end of our block, I stop, hands shoved deep into my pockets as I stare out into the night. My heart refuses to slow, pumping rage through my veins. But if there's one thing I've learned in my life, it's that rage won't win this fight. Only control will. Only focus. I pull out my phone and open a search engine. If she's been meeting someone, there are ways to find out. Private investigators, phone tracking apps, you name it. It's the 21st century, and I'm determined to use every tool at my disposal. I jot down the name of a well-reviewed private investigator, one who specializes in uncovering affairs, and resolve to call him tomorrow morning. For now, I need to face Jennifer without giving away what I know, without tipping her off that her secret is unraveling. If she catches on, she'll get a chance to cover her tracks, and I can't let that happen. Not when I'm so close to learning the truth. I spin on my heel and head back to the house, rehearsing my poker face. I have to act like everything's normal. My footsteps slow as I approach the front door, the familiar warmth of our home suddenly feeling cold and uninviting. I step inside, and there she is, setting the table with a practiced grace that used to make me grateful every day. "Hey, you're back?" Jennifer chirps, looking up with bright eyes. Perfect timing. My stomach churns at how easily she plays the role of loving wife. I nod, walking over and wrapping my arms around her from behind, hoping she doesn't feel the tension in my muscles. "Smells amazing," I whisper, even as the scent of garlic and herbs turns my stomach. My voice stays even, but inside, I'm battling a storm. She leans into me, as if nothing is wrong, as if she isn't living a double life. "You're going to love it," she says, and for a second, I almost believe her. Almost. I pull away, giving her one more smile before sitting at the table. My eyes lock on hers, searching for any crack in her mask, any hint that she knows I'm onto her. But she's good, too good. And that's what makes it all hurt even more. Dinner stretches on like a test of endurance, every bite of lasagna sticking in my throat. I chew mechanically, nodding at Jennifer's chatter about her day. She's animated, throwing her hands in the air as she talks about a coworker's antics and a mishap in the office kitchen. Her laugh fills the room, and for a moment, I find myself clenching my fork so hard my knuckles go white. How can she act so carefree when she's lying to my face? My mind keeps flashing back to that message. Can't wait to see you tonight. It feels like acid, eating away at the memories I once held sacred. I force myself to breathe slowly, to stay composed. So, what about you? Jennifer asks, breaking through my haze. How was work? I manage to force a smile. Same old. Boss is still impossible. Deadlines are still unreasonable. My voice comes out steady, but I feel like I'm balancing on the edge of a knife. She laughs, and it's a sound that once made me feel like the luckiest man alive. Now, it's a cruel reminder of how much she's taken from me. At least you're home now, she says, reaching across the table to squeeze my hand. I stare at our joined hands, at the way her thumb runs gently over my knuckles, and I wonder if she's touched him the same way. My stomach tightens, but I keep my expression neutral. Yeah, I say, pulling my hand away under the pretense of grabbing my water glass. At least I'm home. I can't do this. Not much longer, anyway. The charade is suffocating, and I need a way out. As soon as dinner is over, I volunteer to clear the dishes, anything to escape her company for a moment. The kitchen becomes my refuge, the noise of the water running into the sink helping me think. I hear Jennifer's footsteps behind me, and my whole body tenses. She wraps her arms around me, pressing her body against my back. I missed you today, she whispers, her breath warm against my neck. I stiffen. Her touch feels foreign now, a cruel joke I can't shake off. I don't turn around. Yeah, I force myself to say, my voice sounding miles away. She senses the shift, pulling back a little. You okay? Her concern feels genuine, but that only makes it worse. I shut off the water, turning to face her. Her eyes search mine, and I have to fight the urge to confront her right here and now, to demand she tell me who the hell he is and why she's been lying to me. Instead, I give her a tired smile. Just exhausted, I say. Long day. Her gaze softens, and she steps back, giving me space. All right, she says, her voice gentle. Get some rest. I'll finish up here. I nod, grateful for the chance to escape. But every step away from her feels like a march toward a battle I never wanted to fight. I head upstairs to our bedroom, each movement heavy with the weight of what I have to do next. The truth is out there, waiting for me to uncover it, and I know I won't rest until I do. This isn't just about betrayal anymore. It's about reclaiming my life and making sure she pays for breaking it apart. I lie awake in our bed, the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me, whispering in the quiet night. Jennifer is already asleep beside me, her breaths soft and rhythmic. I turn my head to look at her, and it feels surreal. How can she sleep so peacefully when our whole marriage is teetering on the edge of ruin? The anger wells up inside me again, a familiar burn, but I clench my jaw and hold it down. I have to stay calm, focused. My phone buzzes softly on the nightstand, and I grab it, half expecting another damning text. But it's just a news alert. I toss the phone back and roll over, away from Jennifer, the space between us in bed feeling like a canyon. Morning comes too quickly, and with it, the return of my determination. Jennifer wakes up first, stretching and yawning. I'm heading to the gym, she says, leaning over to give me a quick kiss. Her lips brush mine, and it takes everything in me not to flinch. All right, I mumble, feigning grogginess. Have a good workout. She gives me a smile, one that used to warm me but now feels like a mask, and heads out the door. As soon as I hear the car pull away, I'm up and moving. This is my window of opportunity. I know her routine, the way she's always at the gym for at least an hour and a half. I grab her laptop from the living room, carrying it to the kitchen table where I can work without distractions. The screen flickers to life, and I feel a pang of guilt for what I'm about to do. But then I remember that text, and any hesitation vanishes. I need to know the truth, no matter how much it hurts. Jennifer's password is easy to guess, our anniversary. I've never been more grateful for her lack of creativity. Her inbox is full of the usual: work emails, fitness newsletters, a receipt from some boutique. But then, as I scroll further down, I find it. An email chain labeled "Can't Wait," and my breath catches. The name attached to the messages is unfamiliar, Ryan K. But the content is unmistakable. My vision blurs as I read through the exchanges. Plans for secret meetings, shared memories of nights I didn't know existed, and promises that make my blood run cold. He tells her how much he misses her, how he dreams of their next night together, and she responds with the kind of passion she used to reserve for me. Each word feels like a knife, cutting deeper than the last. I slam the laptop shut, my hands trembling with rage. It's one thing to suspect, to imagine, but seeing it spelled out in black and white makes it all too real. I stand there for a moment, breathing hard, trying to push back the urge to punch a hole in the wall. But no, I can't afford to lose control now, not when I'm finally getting somewhere. I grab my phone and call the private investigator I found last night. His name is James Barlow, and he picks up on the second ring, his voice steady and professional. "Barlow Investigations," he says. "James, it's Mark Walker," I reply, my voice tight. "We spoke last night. I'm ready for you to get started." He doesn't ask questions, just tells me he'll meet me later to go over the details. I hang up and sink into a chair, the anger and betrayal swirling around me. The game has begun, and I'm done being the fool. Jennifer returns from the gym an hour later, her hair tied up in a messy bun, and a slight flush to her cheeks. She drops her gym bag by the door and gives me a casual smile. "Hey," she says, her voice light. "What's on the agenda today?" I force myself to act normal, to slip back into the role of unsuspecting husband. "Not much," I reply, leaning casually against the kitchen counter. "Might go for a run later." "You?" She sighs and stretches, her toned arms reaching above her head. "Laundry and errands, mostly. Maybe lunch with Julie if she's free." I nod, my stomach twisting. I know Julie. She's one of Jennifer's gym friends, always posting selfies on Instagram with Jennifer grinning beside her. But now, I wonder if she's been covering for Jennifer's lies all this time. My mind spins with possibilities, but I can't let my thoughts show. "That sounds nice," I say, pretending to check my phone. "Let me know if you need anything." She gives me another one of those perfect smiles. "Will do." Then she heads upstairs to shower, and I finally exhale, every muscle in my body relaxing as soon as she's out of sight. I don't have long to wait. A few hours later, I meet James Barlow at a quiet coffee shop on the edge of town. He's a tall man, built like a linebacker, with a thick beard and eyes that miss nothing. He shakes my hand firmly and gestures for me to sit. "All right, Mark," he says, leaning forward over his black coffee. "Tell me everything." I lay it all out for him. The changes in Jennifer's behavior, the suspicious nights out, and finally, the incriminating emails. He listens without interrupting, his face a mask of professional detachment. When I finish, he nods, taking out a small notepad. "Sounds like we've got a pattern," he says. "I'll set up surveillance. We'll track her movements, confirm who she's meeting, and document everything. If there's an affair, I'll find out." The word surveillance sends a chill down my spine, but I nod. "And then what?" I ask, my voice hoarse. James shrugs. "Then you decide what to do with the evidence. Most people go for divorce, but some use it for leverage, especially if there are assets or custody involved." Custody. The word hits me like a sledgehammer. We don't have kids yet, but we talked about it, planned for it. Now, I can't imagine bringing a child into this twisted mess. My hands clench under the table, and I force myself to nod again. "Okay, do whatever you need to do." James hands me a card with his direct number. "You'll get daily updates," he says. "If anything major happens, I'll call." We stand, and he gives me one last look, his eyes narrowing slightly. "You okay?" he asks, his voice surprisingly gentle for someone so intimidating. I pause, my throat tight. "Not really," I admit, "but I will be." He doesn't push, just nods and walks out of the shop, leaving me to sit there alone. I stare down at my coffee, my mind racing with everything that's about to come crashing down. This isn't just about catching Jennifer. It's about taking back my life, piece by broken piece. I walk out into the afternoon sun, determined to see this through. If Jennifer thought she could play me for a fool, she's in for a rude awakening. I pull back into the driveway that afternoon, the sun casting long shadows across the front of our house. From the outside, it looks perfect. The well-manicured lawn, the white shutters Jennifer insisted on painting, and the rose bushes she prunes every spring. But now, it all feels like a facade, a shell hiding the rot beneath. I steel myself, pushing the bitterness away, and step inside. The house is quiet. Jennifer isn't in the living room or kitchen, but I hear the faint hum of music coming from upstairs. I take the stairs 2 at a time, the tension coiling in my gut as I wonder what I'll walk into next. Our bedroom door is ajar, and I can see her sitting on the edge of the bed, freshly showered and scrolling through her phone. The scent of her vanilla body wash hangs in the air, familiar and yet repulsive now. She looks up as I walk in, her eyes lighting up with that practiced warmth. "Hey," she says, patting the space beside her. "Come sit with me." I hesitate, my mind running wild. But I cross the room and sit next to her, forcing myself to breathe normally. She leans against me, her head resting on my shoulder, and it takes everything in me not to push her away. "What's on your mind?" she asks, her voice soft. "You. And your lies. And the way I'm about to rip this whole thing apart." But I don't say any of that. Instead, I give her a small smile. "Just thinking about how long it's been since we had a real date night," I say, surprising myself with how sincere I manage to sound. She tilts her head back to look at me, her expression shifting from surprise to pleased. "You're right," she says. "It's been too long. We should fix that. Tonight?" I suggest, watching for any flicker of guilt or hesitation. "I could make a reservation somewhere nice." Her eyes widen a bit, and there it is, a tiny, almost imperceptible pause. "Oh," she says, her voice faltering. "Actually, I have plans tonight." I feel my stomach lurch, but I keep my face neutral. "Plans?" I echo, as if I have no idea. She nods quickly, her smile turning apologetic. "Yeah, Julie and I are supposed to get dinner. She's having a rough week." I nod slowly, pretending to buy her excuse, even though I know it's a lie. "Another time, then," I say, leaning in to kiss her forehead. "Have fun." Jennifer relaxes, the tension leaving her shoulders. "You're the best," she says, slipping off the bed to finish getting ready. She disappears into the bathroom, and I sit there, staring at my reflection in the mirror across the room. The man looking back at me doesn't seem familiar. He's harder now, colder, with eyes that have seen too much and trust nothing. But that's okay. If this is what it takes to get through this, so be it. As Jennifer gets ready for her dinner with Julie, I text James Barlow, letting him know to be ready. If she's meeting her lover tonight, we're going to catch her in the act. I'll get my proof, and then I'll decide how to use it. Jennifer leaves the house around 6:30, dressed in a sleek black dress that hugs her in all the right places. It's the same dress she wore to our last anniversary dinner, and the sight of it now makes my chest tighten. She gives me a quick kiss on the cheek, her perfume lingering as she pulls back. "Don't wait up," she says, her voice light, as if she doesn't have a care in the world. I watch her walk out, my jaw clenched so tight it hurts. The moment I hear her car pull away, I spring into action. I grab my phone and call James Barlow, my pulse racing. He picks up on the first ring, his voice calm and businesslike. "We're in position," he says. "We'll tail her and keep you updated." "Good," I reply, feeling a twisted sense of relief. "I need to know everything." James promises to keep me informed, and I hang up, feeling the weight of what's about to happen settle onto my shoulders. This is it, the moment I've been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. Part of me still hopes there's been some misunderstanding, that she's really just meeting Julie, but deep down, I know better. The house feels emptier than ever, every room echoing with memories that feel like lies now. I wander into the kitchen, grabbing a beer from the fridge, but I barely taste it. Minutes feel like hours, and I keep checking my phone, waiting for the first update from James. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, my phone buzzes. It's a text from James. She's not at any restaurant. She met a man at a bar. They just left together. I stare at the words, my heart pounding. My hands shake as I type back. Where are they going? James replies quickly, following them now. Looks like a hotel off the interstate. The beer bottle slips from my hand and shatters on the kitchen floor, but I barely notice. A hotel? Of course. My vision blurs with anger, and I grip the edge of the counter to steady myself. It's real. Everything I feared is real, and there's no denying it anymore. My phone rings, and it's James again. I answer, my voice tight. Yeah. They just checked in, he says. Room 214. Do you want to come down here? The question hangs in the air, and I feel torn. Do I really want to see it for myself? To confront her in the middle of her betrayal? The thought fills me with a mix of dread and rage, but I know I need to face this. To see her lies crumble right in front of me. I'm on my way, I say, grabbing my keys and heading for the door. The drive to the hotel is a blur of red lights and clenched fists. I can barely think straight, but one thing is clear. This ends tonight. As I pull into the hotel parking lot, my heart hammers against my ribs. James is waiting for me near the entrance, his expression unreadable. He gives me a nod, as if to say he's got my back, and together, we walk inside. Room 214. The door that holds the answers to everything. My hands shake as I approach, and I raise my fist to knock, ready to shatter whatever illusion she's built. Whatever happens next, there's no turning back. My fist hovers in the air, inches from the door to room 214. The hallway feels too quiet, the kind of silence that presses on your ears and makes every heartbeat seem deafening. I steal a glance at James, who stands a few paces behind me, his arms crossed and his expression stoic. He's a rock in this storm, but I'm the one who has to walk into the hurricane. I suck in a breath and knock, 3 short raps that echo down the empty hallway. My mind races, and a small, twisted part of me wonders if she'll recognize my knock, if her heart will drop the way mine did when I read that text. There's movement inside, the soft rustle of sheets and hurried footsteps. My pulse hammers, and for a split second, I almost turn around and walk away. But then, the door cracks open, and there she is, Jennifer. Her hair is tousled, and she's wearing nothing but a silky robe that clings to her shoulders. Mark, she breathes, her eyes wide with shock. I don't move, don't even blink. I'm frozen, taking in the sight of her, trying to reconcile the woman I thought I knew with the one standing in front of me now. Surprised to see me? I ask, my voice coming out cold and flat. Her mouth opens and closes like a fish out of water, and then she tries to cover herself, pulling the robe tighter. I can explain, she stammers. I step forward, pushing the door open wider, and that's when I see him. Ryan K., the mystery lover, stands in the middle of the room, shirtless and stunned, like a deer caught in headlights. The sight of him sends a fresh wave of rage coursing through me, and I have to force myself to stay calm, to keep my fists at my sides. Explain, I repeat, turning back to Jennifer. Go ahead. I'm listening. She takes a shaky breath, her eyes darting between me and Ryan. It's not what it looks like, she says, and I almost laugh at the absurdity of it. Not what it looks like? I echo, my voice rising. You're half naked in a hotel room with another man, Jennifer. How much clearer can it get? Ryan starts to say something, his voice low and pleading. Look, man, I didn't know. Shut up, I snap, my eyes never leaving Jennifer. This isn't about you. Jennifer reaches for me, her hand trembling. Mark, please, she says, tears welling up in her eyes. I never meant for it to go this far. I love you. Don't. I cut her off, stepping back out of reach. Don't say that word. You don't get to say that anymore. The tears spill over, and she crumples, sinking to her knees. I made a mistake, she sobs. A terrible mistake, but I never stopped loving you. Her words feel like acid, burning through the last remnants of my resolve. I want to scream at her, to shake her and ask how she could do this, but I know it won't change anything. The damage is done, and nothing she says now can fix it. James clears his throat, breaking the tension. Mark, he says, his voice firm. We should go. I turn to look at him, and he's right. There's nothing left for me here. I've seen enough. With one last, burning look at Jennifer. I step back into the hallway, my heart splintering into 1,000 pieces. This was supposed to be the end of a chapter, but it feels more like the beginning of a war. The drive home is a blur. My hands grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white, but I barely feel the pain. My mind replays the scene at the hotel like a broken record. Jennifer's shocked face, Ryan's bare chest, the pleading in her voice. I should feel satisfied. I caught her, exposed the lies. But all I feel is a hollow ache that gnaws at me from the inside. James follows in his own car, trailing me back to my house. I park in the driveway, the headlights illuminating our picture-perfect home, the one we dreamed of building together. It looks the same as it did this morning, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. Not now. I step out of the car, and James joins me on the front lawn. His calm, collected demeanor hasn't wavered, but he studies me with a hint of concern. "You holding up?" he asks. I run a hand through my hair, trying to gather my thoughts. "I don't know," I admit, my voice sounding far away. "It feels like I'm in some kind of nightmare." He nods, as if he's heard it all before. "It's a tough thing, seeing someone you love betray you like that. You did the right thing, though. Now you have the evidence you need." I look at him, my jaw tightening. "Evidence," I repeat, the word tasting bitter in my mouth. It's true. I have everything I need to confront her, to file for divorce, to blow up the life we built together. But that doesn't make it any easier. James claps a hand on my shoulder. "Get some rest," he says. "Tomorrow, you can figure out your next steps. If you need any more help, you know how to reach me." I thank him, and he walks back to his car, leaving me standing in the cold night air. The silence presses down on me, and I finally force myself to go inside. The house is dark, and I leave it that way, not wanting to see the photos on the walls or the reminders of a life that feels like a lie now. I head to the kitchen, pulling open a cabinet and grabbing a bottle of whiskey. I pour a generous amount into a glass and take a long drink, the burn in my throat grounding me for a moment. But the ache in my chest doesn't fade. I sink onto a stool, the glass clutched in my hands, and try to breathe through the anger, the grief, the betrayal. Footsteps sound on the front porch, and the door creaks open. My head snaps up, and there she is, Jennifer, her makeup smudged, her hair a mess. She's holding her purse tightly, her eyes red and swollen from crying. "Mark," she whispers, stepping inside. Her voice wavers, and she looks at me like she doesn't know who I am anymore. I set the glass down, the whiskey sloshing inside it. "You shouldn't be here," I say, my voice low and dangerous. She flinches but doesn't back down. "Please," she begs, her voice breaking. "I need to explain. I need you to understand." I stand up, the anger bubbling up again, hot and uncontrollable. "Understand?" I repeat, my voice rising. "You want me to understand why you've been screwing another man behind my back? Why you lied to my face, night after night?" Tears stream down her face, and she takes a shaky step toward me. "It wasn't about you," she says desperately. "I was lost, confused. It wasn't about us." I laugh, a bitter, hollow sound. "Not about us. We were supposed to be a team, Jennifer. You don't get to just write me out of the story and pretend it's fine." Her sobs rack her body, but I don't feel any pity. Not anymore. She reaches for me, but I step back, my hands clenched into fists at my sides. "Stay away," I warn her, my voice trembling. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Her shoulders slump, and she crumples onto the floor, a broken mess. I turn away, unable to look at her any longer. The woman I loved, the life we shared, it's all gone now, shattered by the choices she made. And now, I have to decide what comes next. I leave Jennifer crumpled on the floor, her sobs echoing in the empty house. I can't stand to be near her right now, the sight of her torn between shame and desperation, trying to piece together a defense for something so deeply unforgivable. I head upstairs to our bedroom, but the memories there feel suffocating. The bed we shared, the laughter, the nights we whispered about our future. I need space, air. So I grab a blanket from the closet and retreat to the spare bedroom, the one we always joked about turning into a nursery someday. It's barren, with only a dusty old futon and a dresser that hasn't seen use in years. I shut the door behind me and collapse onto the futon, the exhaustion and grief settling in all at once. The quiet wraps around me like a heavy blanket, and I stare at the ceiling, my mind racing. How did we get here? When did everything go so wrong? I'd been thinking about kids, about starting a family, about growing old with the woman I thought I knew. Now, that future feels like a cruel joke. A knock at the door interrupts my spiral, and I sit up, my heart thumping. What? I snap, the anger flaring up again. The door creaks open, and Jennifer stands there, a fragile shadow in the doorway. She looks smaller somehow, broken. "Mark," she whispers, her voice hoarse from crying. "I know you don't want to talk to me, but please, I need to say something." I clench my teeth, torn between wanting to throw her out and the need to hear her explanation, however hollow it might be. Finally, I gesture to the corner of the room, a cold invitation. "Fine, say whatever you have to say." She steps inside, closing the door behind her, and her hands tremble as she wrings them together. "I never wanted to hurt you," she begins, her voice cracking. I didn't plan for any of this. It just happened." I scoff, the sound bitter and angry. "That's your excuse? It just happened? Like you tripped and fell into a hotel bed with him?" She winces, and tears spill down her cheeks. "It wasn't about you," she says, her voice pleading. "I was feeling empty, lost. My life was spiraling, and Ryan made me feel noticed." The words cut deeper than any knife, and I grip the edge of the futon. "Noticed?" I repeat, my voice thick with disbelief. "I noticed you every damn day, Jennifer. I loved you. I was planning our future together, and you threw it away for someone who made you feel noticed?" Her shoulders shake with silent sobs, and she drops to her knees in front of me. "I was wrong," she cries. "I know that now. It was a mistake, a terrible, selfish mistake, and I'll do anything to fix this. Just please, don't leave me." The desperation in her voice makes my heart ache, but I force myself to stay strong. "You can't just patch this up and pretend it never happened," I say, my voice breaking. "You shattered everything we had." She reaches for my hand, and this time, I let her touch me. Her fingers are cold, trembling, and I feel a pang of something that might be pity. "I'll do whatever it takes," she whispers. "Therapy, moving somewhere new, anything. I can't lose you." For a moment, I feel the weight of our years together, the love we shared, and the memories we built. But then I remember the betrayal, the lies, and the image of her in that hotel room. The pain is too raw, too deep. I pull my hand away, standing up and stepping back. "I don't know what I'm going to do yet," I tell her, my voice steady but empty. "I need time to think, to figure out what's left of me after what you did." She crumples further, but I turn away, my heart shattered into pieces I'm not sure will ever fit back together. I leave the room, her sobs trailing after me, and find myself wandering back downstairs. I don't know where to go or what to do, but I know one thing for sure. This is only the beginning of figuring out how to pick up the pieces of my life. I drift through the house like a ghost, every room a graveyard of memories. The framed photos in the living room, Jennifer and me on our wedding day, our honeymoon in Hawaii, countless snapshots of weekend adventures, stare back at me, mocking the illusion I'd been living. I feel like I'm suffocating under the weight of all the promises we made, promises that have been shattered beyond repair. I end up in the garage, where the familiar smell of oil and metal hits me. This has always been my sanctuary, a place where I could clear my mind while tinkering with my motorcycle or working on small projects. I run my hand over the cool, black metal of the bike, remembering the rides Jennifer and I used to take together. She'd wrap her arms around me, laughing as the wind whipped through her hair. The ache in my chest intensifies. Those moments feel so far away now. I'm about to grab a wrench and try to work off some of my frustration when my phone buzzes in my pocket. I pull it out and see a text from my best friend, Kyle. "Hey man, you good? Heard from you in a bit." I stare at the message, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I feel a flicker of something close to relief. Kyle has always had my back. We grew up together, played on the same sports teams, and even roomed together in college. He's the one person who's always been there, no matter what. I text him back, "No, not good. Can you come over?" His reply is almost immediate, "Be there in 20. I put my phone down and lean against the workbench, the seconds ticking by like hours. I don't know how I'm going to tell him, how I'm going to put the betrayal into words, but I know I need someone to hear me, someone to help anchor me before I get swept away by the storm inside. 20 minutes later, there's a knock on the garage door. I open it, and there stands Kyle, his tall, broad frame blocking out the last of the setting sun. He takes one look at me, his brow furrowing in concern. "Jesus, Mark," he says, "you look like hell." I manage a weak laugh, though it comes out more like a choked sob. "Yeah, well, feels like it too." He steps inside, closing the door behind him. "What happened?" he asks, and the seriousness in his voice cuts right through me. He knows this isn't a small problem. He knows something's terribly wrong. I take a shaky breath and tell him everything. The text I found, the private investigator, the hotel, and the confrontation. As I speak, the anger and pain come rushing back, but saying it out loud makes it feel more real, more final. By the time I finish, my hands are shaking, and I have to set my jaw to keep from breaking down. Kyle is silent for a long moment, his fists clenching and unclenching. He looks like he wants to punch something, and honestly, I get it. That's beyond messed up," he finally says, his voice thick with disbelief. "I can't believe she did that to you." I nod, my throat tight. "I don't know what to do, Kyle. Everything's gone. The future we planned, the trust, it's just gone." He steps closer and grips my shoulder, his eyes hard but full of something that feels like loyalty. "You're not gone," he says firmly. "You're still here, and you're going to get through this. You're stronger than this bullshit, man. And you've got me, whatever you need." The words hit me like a lifeline, and I feel a tear slip down my cheek before I can stop it. "I don't even know where to start," I whisper. Kyle's grip tightens. "We start by getting you out of this house, away from her. Come stay at my place for a bit. Clear your head, make a plan. You don't have to do this alone." The offer breaks something inside me, and I nod, grateful beyond words. "Thanks," I manage, my voice cracking. "I don't know what I'd do without you." He gives me a fierce look. "You don't have to find out. Now, let's pack some of your stuff. You need space to heal, and I'm not letting you drown here." I take a deep breath, feeling a flicker of hope for the first time since this nightmare started. Maybe I can't fix what's broken, but at least I can start finding my way out. Kyle's words give me the push I need. With a heavy heart but a sliver of determination, I start gathering my things. We walk upstairs, and the house feels like it's holding its breath, waiting for the explosion that never came. Jennifer is nowhere in sight, and for that, I'm grateful. The last thing I need right now is another confrontation. I step into our bedroom, the room I used to think of as a safe haven, and it feels different, haunted by what I know now. I pull a duffel bag from the closet and start packing. Clothes, toiletries, a couple of the old books I keep on my nightstand. Kyle stands by the door, his presence a quiet reassurance. "You sure you don't want to take more?" he asks, watching as I zip up the bag. I shake my head. "This is all I need for now. I don't want to be here longer than I have to be." He nods in understanding. "Fair enough. Let's get out of here, then." Just as I hoist the duffel bag over my shoulder, the sound of footsteps makes me freeze. Jennifer appears in the hallway, her face pale and eyes puffy from crying. Her gaze flicks from me to the bag in my hand, and she seems to shrink into herself. "You're leaving?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. I meet her eyes, feeling 1,000 emotions crash through me: anger, grief, longing, and betrayal. But I keep my face impassive. "I need space," I say, my voice cold and resolute. "I can't stay here." She takes a step forward, her hands clasped in front of her like she's praying for mercy. "Mark, please don't go. We can fix this." I feel Kyle's presence behind me, a silent wall of support, and it gives me the strength to stand my ground. "There's nothing left to fix," I tell her. "You broke us, and I don't know if I can ever forgive that." Tears spill down her face, and she reaches out, but I take a step back. Please, she begs, her voice cracking. I made a mistake, a horrible mistake, but I love you. I never stopped loving you. The words sting, and I have to fight to keep from lashing out. Love? I repeat, my voice shaking. If this is what love looks like to you, I want no part of it. Her sobs echo through the hallway, but I don't let them reach me. I can't afford to feel sorry for her, not when she's the one who destroyed everything. With one last look at the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, I turn and walk down the stairs, Cal following close behind. The front door slams behind us, and I take a deep, shuddering breath. It feels like a small victory, a step toward reclaiming what little is left of my dignity. Kyle claps a hand on my shoulder as we reach his car. You did good, man, he says. You did what you had to do. I nod, though my chest feels like it's being crushed under the weight of loss. Let's get out of here, I say, throwing my bag into the back seat. We drive away, and I don't look back. The road ahead is uncertain, filled with pain and questions I'm not ready to face. But at least I'm moving forward, away from the lies, towards something that might one day feel like healing. As we pull into Kyle's driveway, he turns to me and offers a small, hopeful smile. You're not alone, he reminds me. We'll figure this out together. And for the first time in days, I almost believe him. Kyle's guest room is small but comfortable, with a simple bed, a dresser, and a view of the street below. I toss my duffel bag onto the bed and collapse beside it, feeling the weight of everything finally pressed down on me. The silence isn't peaceful. It's oppressive, a void filled with thoughts I can't escape from. Kyle gives me space, retreating to the living room, and I'm grateful. Right now, I need a moment alone. I lie back, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of the chaos. Memories of Jennifer keep swirling through my mind, the good ones interwoven with the lies. The laughter we shared, the dreams we built, and then the image of her in that hotel room with someone else. It feels like whiplash, like every happy memory has been corrupted. I cover my face with my hands, feeling the burn of tears that I refuse to let fall. Breaking down now feels like surrender, and I'm not ready to give her that power over me. Not yet. A soft knock at the door pulls me out of my downward spiral. I sit up, and Cal pokes his head in, holding 2 steaming mugs of coffee. Thought you could use something to warm you up, he says, his voice gentle. I manage a small smile, grateful for the gesture. Thanks, man, I say, taking the mug he offers. The warmth spreads through my hands, a welcome distraction from the cold ache inside. Kyle sits in the chair by the window, blowing on his coffee. So, he starts, hesitating for a moment. What's the plan? I mean, I know it's early, but have you thought about what you want to do? I take a sip of coffee, the bitterness matching the turmoil in my chest. I don't know, I admit, my voice rough. Divorce, probably. I don't think I can ever trust her again. He nods, his eyes serious. I get it, but take your time. Don't rush into anything you're not ready for. This is your life, and you have to be sure. The weight of that truth sinks in. This isn't something I can just walk away from. It's a wound that's going to leave a scar, no matter how it heals. I can't believe this is happening, I say, my voice cracking despite my best efforts to keep it steady. Kyle's jaw tightens, and he sets his mug down on the windowsill. You didn't deserve this, Mark. None of it. But you're strong. You'll come out of this better than ever. I want to believe him, but it's hard to see a future where I feel whole again. I rub my hands over my face, trying to will away the hopelessness. What if I can't? I whisper. What if this breaks me? He stands up and crosses the room, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. Then I'll be here to put the pieces back together, as many times as it takes. His words hit me in a place I've kept locked up tight, and I feel the wall I've built around my heart start to crack. Thanks, I say, my voice barely more than a whisper. I mean it. Kyle gives me a small, genuine smile. Always, brother. Now, why don't we order some takeout, drink a few beers, and try to distract you from this nightmare for a while? It's a simple offer, but it feels like a lifeline. I nod, a flicker of something like hope stirring inside me. Yeah, I agree. That sounds good. We head downstairs, And for the first time in what feels like an eternity, the crushing weight of betrayal lightens, just a little. Maybe the healing will take time, and maybe I'll never be the same, but at least I'm not facing it alone. The smell of greasy takeout fills Kyle's living room, and we sit on the couch with an array of Chinese food containers spread out on the coffee table. The TV plays quietly in the background, some action movie Kyle picked to drown out the heaviness hanging in the air. We dig into the food, and for the first time in days, I manage to eat without feeling like I'll be sick. Kyle cracks open a beer, passing one to me. "Here's to getting through this," he says, raising the bottle in a mock toast. His attempt at lightening the mood brings a genuine, if brief, smile to my face. "To survival," I echo, clinking my bottle against his. We both take long swigs, and the cold, bitter liquid soothes my frayed nerves. It's a simple moment, but it feels like a step forward, like a tiny crack in the darkness that's been closing in around me. The movie plays on, explosions and car chases distracting me from my thoughts, but only just. I find myself staring at the screen without really seeing it, my mind drifting back to Jennifer. The way she sobbed, begging me not to leave. The way her words twisted in my mind, part of me wanting to believe her despite everything. I turn to Kyle, needing to voice the thought that's been eating away at me. "Do you think people can really change?" I ask, my voice low, almost like I'm afraid to hear the answer. Kyle sets his beer down, his expression thoughtful. "I think people can change, but only if they really want to. And even then, it takes a hell of a lot of work." "Why? You thinking about giving her a second chance?" The question hangs heavy between us, and I shake my head. "No," I say firmly, but the hesitation in my voice betrays me. "I mean, I don't think so. It's just hard, you know, to throw away everything we had." Kyle watches me for a moment, then leans back with a sigh. "Yeah, man, I get it. But remember, she didn't just make one mistake. She lied, over and over. She made a choice to betray you. That's not something you can just sweep under the rug." The truth of his words stings, but it also grounds me. I know he's right. Trust isn't something you can patch up with apologies, and the love we once had can't erase the damage she's done. I take another sip of beer, letting his words settle into the cracks in my heart. "Yeah," I murmur, more to myself than to him. "You're right." The movie continues, and we let the silence stretch, comfortable in the way only old friends can be. After a while, Kyle turns to me, a mischievous grin breaking through the seriousness. "Remember that time we snuck into that dive bar during spring break?" he asks, his eyes lighting up. I can't help but chuckle, the memory breaking through my gloom. "How could I forget? You got us kicked out after that karaoke disaster." He laughs, the sound genuine and infectious. "Hey, I still say my rendition of Livin' on a Prayer was a masterpiece." We spend the next hour trading stories, laughing in a way that feels almost normal, almost healing. It's a reprieve I didn't know I needed, and for a little while, I forget the betrayal, the pain, and the uncertainty of the future. I just let myself be here, in the moment, with someone who knows me better than anyone. The night wears on, and eventually, exhaustion starts to set in. Kyle yawns, stretching his arms over his head. "All right, man," he says, standing up. "I'm crashing. You need anything, just wake me up." I nod, grateful beyond words. "Thanks, Kyle, for everything." He waves me off. "What are friends for?" he says, disappearing down the hallway. I sit in the quiet, the remnants of laughter still echoing in my mind. It's not much, but it's a start. I finish the last of my beer, feeling a little stronger, a little more ready to face the unknown. Tomorrow will come, with all its challenges and heartbreak. But tonight, I feel the tiniest spark of hope, and for now, that's enough. Morning arrives in a pale, gray wash of light filtering through the guest room blinds. I wake up to the unfamiliar quiet of Kyle's house, a reminder that I'm no longer in the home I once shared with Jennifer. For a moment, I lie there, caught between sleep and the reality that hits me like a punch to the gut. But the ache isn't as suffocating as it was yesterday, and that feels like progress. I sit up, rubbing my face and trying to shake off the remnants of sleep. My phone buzzes on the nightstand, and I reach for it, my heart clenching when I see Jennifer's name. There are several unread messages, and the sight of them sends a spike of anxiety through me. I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the screen, before finally opening the texts. Mark, please talk to me. I can't stop thinking about what I've done. I need to make this right, somehow. I'm so sorry. I love you. Can we at least talk? I stare at the messages, the words blurring together. My first instinct is to ignore them, to throw the phone across the room and pretend I never saw them. But a part of me, the part that remembers the good times, the laughter, the dreams, feels a painful tug. It's hard to reconcile the Jennifer who sent these desperate, apologetic texts with the woman I saw in that hotel room. A knock at the door pulls me out of my thoughts. Kyle's voice is muffled but cheerful. Hey man, you awake? I made some coffee. I breathe out, grateful for the distraction. Yeah, coming, I call back, setting my phone down and standing. The weight of Jennifer's messages lingers, but I push it aside. I'll deal with it later. Downstairs, the smell of freshly brewed coffee and bacon greets me. Kyle is already at the stove, flipping pancakes with a spatula, and he looks up with a grin when I walk in. Morning, he says. Figured you could use a good breakfast, or at least a strong cup of coffee. I chuckle, grabbing a mug and pouring myself a generous amount. You're a lifesaver, I say, taking a long sip. The warmth spreads through me, easing the tension in my chest, if only for a moment. Kyle sets a plate of pancakes on the table, and we sit down, eating in comfortable silence for a while. The normalcy of it is soothing, like a reminder that life goes on, even when it feels like it's falling apart. But of course, reality isn't far behind. So, Kyle says, setting his fork down and looking at me. What's the plan today? Are you going to see a lawyer or something? I chew slowly, considering his question. Yeah, I say finally. I think I need to start looking into that. I don't want to make any rush decisions, but I need to be prepared. He nods, his expression serious. Makes sense. Want me to come with you? Moral support? I give him a grateful smile. Thanks, but I think I need to handle this on my own. I'll be fine. Kyle watches me for a moment, then shrugs. All right. Just know I'm here if you need backup. Or, if you want to blow off some steam at the gym later. Deal, I say, and the idea of hitting the gym, of working out some of this frustration, actually sounds appealing. After breakfast, I head back upstairs to change, but as I pull on a clean shirt, I catch sight of my phone again. Jennifer's messages are still there, and a new one has arrived. I'm going to keep trying until you talk to me. Please. I close my eyes, the pain flaring up again. But this time, there's a hint of anger underneath. She doesn't get to dictate this, doesn't get to demand my attention when she's the one who shattered everything. I shove the phone into my pocket, determined not to let her control how I feel. Today, I'll start putting things in motion. I'll look for a lawyer, maybe reach out to someone who can guide me through the legal mess that's coming. I'm not ready to confront Jennifer, not yet, but I can take this step for myself. I walk back downstairs, feeling a strange sense of determination, like I'm reclaiming a piece of my life. Kyle looks up from the living room, giving me a thumbs up. Ready to face the world? I take a deep breath and nod. Yeah, I say, more certain than I've felt in days. Let's do this. The sun is brighter than it's been in days as Kyle drives me into town, the sky a vivid blue streaked with clouds. I watch the scenery blur past, feeling the world move on while my life remains paused in this moment of upheaval. But as the car rolls to a stop outside a modest law office, I realize this is the first real step toward moving forward. You sure you're good? Kyle asks, his voice tinged with concern. I can wait here if you want. I glance at the building, a nondescript brick structure that holds more significance than it should. I'll be fine, I tell him, offering a small smile. Thanks for everything, man. He nods, his jaw tightening. Call me if you need anything. Seriously. With that, I push open the door and step out into the crisp air, my heart thudding in my chest. Each step toward the office feels heavy, but determined. I pause for a moment at the entrance, drawing in a deep breath before pushing the door open. Inside, the receptionist greets me with a polite smile, and I tell her I'm here to inquire about a consultation. A few minutes later, I'm seated across from a lawyer named Michael Harper, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. He listens as I explain my situation, taking notes and nodding occasionally. "So," he says when I finish, setting his pen down, "you want to discuss your options. First off, I'm sorry you're going through this. Betrayal is one of the hardest things to endure, but you're doing the right thing by getting informed." I nod, trying to stay composed. "I don't know if I want to file for divorce yet, I admit, but I need to understand what I'm up against." Michael leans back in his chair. "Completely understandable. Given that you don't have children, the process can be more straightforward, but we'll still want to look at your shared assets and any potential complications." He pauses, giving me a moment to digest the information. "If you decide to go forward, we'll make sure your rights are protected." The conversation goes on, and I take in as much as I can. It feels overwhelming, but also necessary. This is the reality I have to face, whether I want to or not. When we're done, Michael gives me his card and a packet of information to review. "Take your time," he says. "You don't have to make any decisions today, but know that you have options." I thank him, shaking his hand before leaving the office. The weight of everything presses on me as I step back into the sunlight, but there's also a sliver of relief. Knowing my options, understanding what comes next. It feels like a tiny piece of control in a world that's been spiraling. Kyle's waiting in the car, his eyes searching mine for any sign of how it went. I slide into the passenger seat, clutching the packet of papers like a lifeline. "How'd it go?" he asks. I exhale, leaning my head back against the seat. "Better than I expected," I say, a hint of surprise in my voice. "I have a lot to think about, but it's a start." He claps me on the shoulder, his relief palpable. "That's what matters. You're taking steps." As we drive back to his place, I find myself feeling a little lighter, like I'm finally starting to climb out of the wreckage. There's still pain, still a long road ahead, but at least I'm not stuck in that moment of betrayal anymore. I'm moving, even if it's slow, even if it hurts. Later that evening, as the sky darkens, I sit on Kyle's porch, watching the stars emerge. The phone in my pocket buzzes again, and I know it's probably Jennifer, sending another desperate message. But this time, I don't feel the same urge to read it, to let it drag me back into the past. Instead, I stare up at the stars, feeling a tentative sense of peace. I don't know what the future holds, but I know one thing. I'm not broken. I'm still here, still standing, and I'll keep moving forward, one step at a time. Thank you for following along with the story. If it kept you hooked or made you feel something, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever faced a betrayal or a moment where you had to find the strength to move forward? Share your experiences below. Your stories matter too. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe, or let me know what kind of story you'd like to hear next. Your support and feedback mean everything and help shape our next adventure together.